Today we're talking about storytelling. Now when I talk about storytelling, I'm not talking about reading a story. I'm talking about telling a story, like in oral traditions. Storytelling can help language growth, and it's different than reading from a storybook. Storytelling involves telling a story and not having any books in front of you. And some teachers are just kind of shy about this. They shy away from it because they feel that they're going to lose the children's interest. And it's just, you just need to begin. You just start by telling stories. You can watch storytellers, but the best way is just to begin by telling stories from your own experiences. If you want to develop your storytelling skills, you can start by relating short, significant happenings from your own life, from daily life, and keep it lively. The children observe and listen to the teacher, and then the storytelling that they hear, they'll begin to notice the different elements of the story, like the beginning, the middle, and having an ending. Some children notice that stories vary from one storyteller to another. They might have heard their mother tell a story and then their father tell a story, and they notice that they were a little bit different and they're able to discriminate. They imitate techniques and they use hand and body gestures, facial expressions, and vocal variations. A teacher can use everyday activities such as being in the block building section with children or the housekeeping area to keep children's imagination, help them describe things, help them create things, express ideas, and later achieve writing and reading skills. Current research is encouraging teachers to promote each child's oral development and the dictation of child-created stories and subsequent dramatizations. Experts believe that this kind of activity primes children's inner feelings and thinking processes for changing and growing, and for increasing self-awareness and awareness of themselves in relationship to others. The well-told story has a power, and it keeps children spellbound. It's the intimate, personal body of storytelling, as well as the power of the story itself, that accomplishes these minor miracles. Yet in order for this spell to work, a story must be learned, remembered, and so delightfully told that it catches and holds the attention of even the most wiggly child. Storytelling can be planned or it can be spontaneous. It can be done inside, it can be done outside. It doesn't have to have any books or props. Some goals of storytelling are to increase the children's engagement of oral language, to encourage children's storytelling and their own authorship of their own stories, to increase children's confidence as speakers, to increase children's awareness of story sequence and structure, to increase comprehension and higher level thinking skills, to promote oral skills and use expression of ideas, to help children with listening skills, to extend the young child's vocabulary and also their understanding of fact versus fantasy, to create an appetite for words, to create to stimulate their imagination, and to introduce themselves to being an audience as well as a storyteller. To extend learning during and after story time, discuss with children the following: the sequence of events of the story, what happened to the characters of the story, the location and setting of the story, the speech used by the characters of the story, and also the high point of the story. Ask yourself if the book is age appropriate for the child, or is the story age appropriate for the group of children that you're working with. Is the story easily understood for their level, and are the vocabulary words easily understood for them? Is the story too frightening for the children? Can you tell benefit from learning about the traits of the characters? Is the plot easily comprehended? Is there action and interest? Does the story have a climax and have some suspense? Does it have a timely and satisfying conclusion? And are the characters introduced as they appear? Does the style have repetition and rhyme or silly words and doesn't have a surprise ending? Does it include directly quoted words from the characters And does the mood help develop the plot? You need to look at the values that are modeled, and are they appropriate for children? Are the characters colorful and memorable? Do the vocabulary words evoke their senses, such as instead of saying, I have a cookie, saying, I have a gingerbread cookie that is warm and golden? Some additional techniques are guard against sounding mechanical, practice before a mirror or with another person, use gestures, maintain eye contact by scanning the group during the story, pace the story by going fast during exciting times and slow during serious times. Use a clear, firm voice and try changing the voice volume and tone during the story. Interrupt the story if necessary to explain something. Don't worry about retelling the story exactly as you did before. Keep children involved by engaging them in repetition and rhyme and silly words. Sit close to the group and make sure that all are comfortable before you begin. If you're able to include teacher and children's names or familiar places, include them. Become familiar with difficult pronunciations before you begin the story, and use dramatic pauses to build suspense. We not only work on these previous items, but we also need to work on reading comprehension. Some of the ways that you can do that are you can make a visual graph of the story to help children understand the plot. You can ask if anyone has any questions. You can ask if someone heard a new word or a new name. You can ask the children about the story, about the actions that they heard or saw. Discuss how children might change something a character did. Have the children make up a different way to end the story. Discuss how the children might have solved the problem in the story a different way. Ask the children their opinion of the story's characters, of their behavior, whether it was good or bad, and why they think that. And ask about the characters' possible emotions during the story events. We also need to include story writing for children. And even though young children are unable to sit down and write a story themselves, they can tell a story that can be scripted or scribed by an adult. This is where your volunteers, your grandparents, and teacher assistants come in, as well as the teacher. Help a child write their own story. A teacher can help a child write their own story by saying, tell me the words you want me to write down on the paper. You can ask them if they have a story to tell. You can listen to the child and get down on their level. Look them in the eye. Probe them for what their intent is. Help the child articulate what they're trying to communicate. Help the child begin if necessary. Recap by reading the story that the child has already contributed and dictated. Help by giving an example if necessary. Date the child's work and encourage the child to create a title for their work. Suggest the child that they might want to add pictures to their work. And post the child's work so that others can see it, and encourage them to share their work. Look to your community for resources. Often parent volunteers, grandparents, aunts, uncles, big brothers, sisters, community volunteers, oftentimes there are storytellers out there in your community, and they are not in the phone book under storytellers. They're just people that are good at telling stories. You know who they are. You go to a family reunion and there's always someone that's sitting and telling stories. Look to those people to come in and tell stories. It might be just telling stories about their life, or maybe a grandpa telling a story about when he was a little boy. Those are the people that you want to come in and really engage with the children in storytelling. Promote a child's interest. If a child's interested in a story, see if you can find something that you can tell them a story about, or have them tell their own story.